Dear viewers, in this video we want to look at expectation of a random variable x denoted as e of x. E of x is read as e of x and it gives an average or a typical value of x, which is called the expected value, or expectation of x. Mathematically, we denote that expectation of x using the formula that it is the summation of x multiplied by probability of a random variable x equaling to a specific value x, taking up all values of x. For all values of x, the expected value of x, or the average, is given by this formula. Now, we shall look at expectation of any function, but let us first have an example on how to use the formula. I want to begin with this example 1, which goes that a newspaper agent stocks 12 copies of children magazine each week. He has regular orders for Gohuya village for 9 copies, and the additional copies sold varies from week to week. The news agent uses previous sales data to estimate the probability or the chance for each possible total number of copies sold as follows. So this is the PDF for the number of copies sold. We have that when 9 copies are sold, this is the probability. When 10 copies, this is the chance. 11 copies, this is the chance. 12 copies, this is the probability. And they want us to calculate an estimate for the mean number of copies that he sells in a week. Then the news agent buys the copies. That will be our part B. So we have to use the formula to first handle part A to estimate the mean number of copies sold in a week. And therefore, we shall use this question of ours, and we use the formula. Part A, calculate the mean. And as we said, that mean or average, that is expectation of x, is given by the formula summation x multiplied by probability for a random variable x equaling to x, taking up all x values. So we shall look at number of copies, and that will be our x. Then probability, of course, the probability of x equaling to small x. And you will see that we shall have x, small x, then probability And according to the formula, we need to have a column for x multiplied by our probabilities. And therefore, we shall have x running from 9, 10, 11, 12. 10 probabilities, we have 0.20, 0.35, 0.30, then 0.15. And in this case, we shall get x multiplied by the probability, and we shall be able to get the results. Then we shall be able to add and we get expectation. Now when you get x times 9 times 0.2, it will give automatically 1.8. When you get 10 times 3.5, 0.35, we shall get 3.5. 11 times 0.3, it gives 3.3, then 1.8. And we can have the sum here. And this sum is when you add 1.8 plus 3.5 plus 3.3 plus 1.8, it gives 10.4. And in that case, it means that expectation of x from the table is 10.4. And therefore, from our question, it was the expected estimated the mean or the expected number of copies that he sells in a week. Therefore, the expected number of copies sold is on average 10.4. Now, we look at part B, where they are saying that the news agent buys the copies at 850 and sells them at 1,450. Any copies not sold are destroyed. So it means this news agent stocks 12 copies every week. Every week he stocks 12 copies, but if any copies is not sold, it is destroyed. And you can see that on some days, after stocking 12 copies, 9 are sold, so 3 are not. Therefore, the 3 are destroyed on the spot. And if he says 10, it means 2 are destroyed. Therefore, the question Roman 1, find the profit on these magazines in a week when he says 11 copies. They want profit. And that is Roman 1. Since 12 copies are procured or stocked, then we need what you call the cost price. The cost price, which will be how much money does this news agent pay for the copies. Now, 850 is the cost per each paper, and if 12 papers are sold, you get 12 times shillings 850, and this will give us the cost price of 10,200 shillings. Now we need the selling price. The selling price. Now, Roman 1, they want profit on 11 copies that this news agent sells. So if 11 copies are sold and we know our cost price, we can know the selling price by getting 11 copies times how much per copy. It is sold at 1,450 shillings, and that will give us the selling price. So you will have to get 11 times 1,450, and the calculator will be able to give 15,950 shillings as the selling price. Therefore, from your O level, if you want profit is selling price minus cost price, we shall have a selling price of 15,950 shillings minus shillings 10,200, and this will give us profit, and this profit is 5,750 shillings. So this is the profit that is made on 11 copies sold in a particular week. Now, Roman 2, we are to construct a probability distribution table for the news agent's weekly profit from the sales. Now, we first looked at how to construct a probability density function for any given random variable. Now, we shall be able to form the distribution table for the weekly profit. And you can imagine that when 11 copies are sold, we have got this profit, and in the table we have 9 copies sold. Now, as part of Roman 2, when 9 copies are sold, then we have a selling price of 9 multiplied by the cost per item of per copy, which is 1,450 shillings, and this will give us a selling price. Now, cost price, we know it. Cost price is fixed because 12 copies are procured, and when cost price is computed, we shall say that it is 10,200 shillings because the number of copies remain the same. So profit made when 9 copies have been sold shall have selling price of 9 times 1,450 minus a cost price of 12 times 850, and this profit, using your calculator, you will be able to give 2,850 shillings. So this will be the profit. Now, when 10 copies are sold, so when 9 copies are sold, when 10 copies are sold, it means we shall have profit of 10 copies times cost per copy minus 10,200 as the cost price, and this will give a profit of 4,300 shillings. Now, when 11 copies are sold properly, the profit is here, 5,750. Now, when 12 copies are sold, then profit will be 12 times cost per copy 1,450 shillings minus the amount for the cost price, and this will give us a profit of 7,200 shillings. So this is how we can calculate the profit, and therefore the distribution table we shall be able to have to assume that let y, small y, be the profit, then P of y equaling y be the probability for each of the profits made in a week. And therefore it will be easy now for us to get the distribution table, whereby it will be made up of y and probability of capital Y equaling to small y, where y will stand in for the profit, and when 9 copies are sold, we shall have a profit of 2,850, and this corresponds with a probability which does not change of 0.20. Now when 10 copies are sold, then we shall have a profit of 4,300. So y will be 4,300, and the probability when 10 copies are sold is clearly 0.30. When 11 copies are sold, then we have a probability of 0.3. When 10 copies are sold, we shall have a probability of 0.35. It is 0.35, not 0.3. 0.3 it is when 11 copies are sold, and 0.35 is for 10 copies. 11 copies, we have a profit of 5,750. 5,750 as a profit for the probability of 0.30. Now when 12 copies are sold, then we have a profit of 7,200, and it corresponds with a probability of 0.15. Therefore, we summarize the profit and the corresponding probabilities in the form of a table, and once this table is formed, it is what we call the probability distribution for a random variable y, where y refers to weekly profit. Hence, or otherwise, calculate an estimate of his weekly profit. Therefore, mean weekly profit or average weekly profit, that will be the expectation of y, and therefore expectation of y will be the summation of y multiplied by probabilities. These probabilities, so long as we have the original problem involving x, if we change a variable to y but referring to the same question, the probabilities will not change, and automatically we shall as usual multiply y times the probability. Manually it will be 0.2 times 2850 plus 0.35 multiplied by 4,300 plus 0.3 times 5,750. As you can see, it is a matter of getting profit times its probability, profit times probability, So we shall add 0.15 times 7,200. So you get 7,200 times the probability, and so on. And that will be able to give out the expectation of y, as you can see, viewers. And that briefly will give us shillings 4,880. 4,880. So this is on average the weekly profit. On average, the weekly profit from the magazines. So that's how we can get the expectation of a given random variable x. So it is easy, viewers. Simply see the formula and we use it in whatever question, as long as the question is about how to get the expectation of x or of any random variable x. Thank you, and stay tuned for more